Hello, I'm Robin Gibson, and this is the Harvard House Money Morsel. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the bell so that you get a notification of when we release a new video. I've got Michael Porter back in the hot seat. You all know him well. Michael, thanks for joining us.
Morning, Robin.
Michael, so we're still seeing ripples in the American banking system. I think we've got another bank that's sort of lost a huge amount of value, and this concern continues to move around. But we've also seen one of the biggest banks in America report. So can you kind of update us on this picture after your last one, and then maybe we can move across to the South African banking sector after?
Sure, Robin. Yeah, welcome back after a nice long weekend.
Thank you.
Yeah, Robin. So, First Republic Bank in America was one of the banks that kind of got into trouble last month, but it didn't obviously collapse like SVB did. But to give you some indication, the share price was $220 a year ago. Before Silicon Valley Bank collapsed, it was $150. Now it's $8.
Wow.
So we don't have any shares in First Republic Bank, thank goodness. Robin, really the essence around First Republic is exactly the same as Silicon Valley. Deposits have been pulled out rapidly. There is concern around the bank, how profitable it is. They've lost a huge amount of deposits. So they've still got $100 billion of deposits. It's not a small bank,
Yes.
but they've lost 40% of their deposits in the last month or in the last quarter since they last reported.
Yes.
And obviously this is spurring a lot of concern. So obviously clients are taking their money out. But because they've taken some of the money out, obviously they've got the same issue that SVB had in that some of the, they don't have enough cash to meet some of the deposits. So they're selling investments at a loss, which is the one issue. And then the second thing is that because of the sort of changing of the book, it's whether they're actually going to be profitable now for the next couple of quarters or the next year, because the bank is in turmoil. So you're not really on the front foot looking for new business and going about making money. You're just trying to put your fingers in the holes and plug the holes really. So I think shareholders from that point of view are also running scared and saying, well, this is actually a bad investment. I'm not really going to make money. So the share price has reacted accordingly, On the other hand, as you mentioned, JP Morgan had their results, and Citibank, which we do have quite a lot of. JP Morgan is the sort of big daddy of American banking. And for those who don't know, JP Morgan is maybe a bit of a household name, certainly in our industry. But they also bought Chase Manhattan Bank many years ago. And so they've got a retail bank, and they do all the investment banking and things like that as well. So it's a bit of a combination. And Robin, really the result is that interest income, the amount of money that they make from interest is just soaring because interest rates have risen so much. And then the other income streams that a bank has, which is really trading profits, and that's more from the investment banking side, that was really strong. And they always make good profit when markets are volatile because they trade markets aggressively. And then fees and commissions, which is a lot more stable. And that's one of the things that we all get so hot under the collar about with bank fees, and they charge you for this and they charge you for that.
Yes.
And that's relatively stable. So that's growing quite nicely. And JP Morgan also has asset management and wealth management divisions, which is pretty stable, So their results really showed a bank that is very profitable. ROE is rising, which is essentially how much profit you're making relative to the equity you have in the bank. They've been very prudent. They've built up their reserves. They've built up their capital. They're bringing down their costs. So actually, it was a very good set of results. And JP Morgan reacted quite positively after that. So certainly on our watch list, JP, we would love to buy some into portfolios. But with all the drama in American banking right now, let's wait for a better entry point.
Yes. Okay. So, Michael, obviously, it doesn't appear like there is a banking crisis, which obviously would be a concern globally. How are the South African banks faring? We've spoken about the fact that, that consumers are under pressure. So they, Capitec, we chatted with Johanna last week about that. The counter side is that obviously they're doing a lot of lending into the solar space and alternative energy. Load shedding, we've got this supposed idea of stage 11, which is, I think it's 2 6 hours and a 4 hour in a day. How do we see things on the South African banking stage?
Yeah, Robin, I think it's quite, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Standard Bank actually last week had their quarter 1 update, and they report every quarter because of a global responsibility. And they were basically indicating first quarter on first quarter last year, profits up 30%.
Wow.
So that suggests that there's nothing wrong with SA banking, you know. The caveat to that is that quarter 1 last year was really before interest rates started to rise aggressively. Interest rates only really started to rise in quarter 2, and now we're significantly higher a year down the line. So Standard Bank did mention in their commentary that the provision for bad debts or bad debts is rising, you know, and I think we must expect that trend to, in essence, accelerate over the rest of this year, because it's a sort of cumulative effect, you know. It's interest rates could rise a little bit further, and they're not going to go down probably over the rest of this year. I mean, maybe towards the end of this year or the start of next year. So I think banking's in a good space. I think our banks are busy. There's lots of activity. There's lots of people borrowing for solar. There's big projects for solar and new renewable energies, which the banks lend to. So there's lots of stuff to keep them busy. But like everything, we wouldn't get carried away, and it's not the holy grail. It's just time to be a little bit cautious, because bad debts are rising. I mean, people are under pressure, but I don't think it's going to be significant to derail the whole story here.
Yes.
And I remember our banks, we only really have the 5 big banks. I mean, Capitec has also just reported, and their bad debts were also rising. So I think from that point of view, we must look at the bad debt situation and just understand that it is going to have an impact.
Yeah.
But banks are solid, Robin, and we don't think that's what's happening in the US is really an indication of what's happening here. We've got 5 big banks. Deposits are very steady. We've got lots of trust in our banks. No one's lost faith in any of our banks, and there's no reason to lose faith in our banks.
Well, that's very good to hear.
Yeah.
Once again, thanks so much for joining us, Michael. Thank you for your time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the bell, and then you'll know when we release our new videos. See you next time. Bye-bye.